because I don't think I've only done this like 3 times so far. No, this would be the 3rd time. So, okay, so we're setting up a Germany's player 1, player 2 is France, and it's a meeting engagement. All set to human control, buy and deploy. Month is May, year is 1940. Visibility is 25. Length is 15. Okay, we're using a random map. Preferences are set correctly. Everything's at 100%. It's 1,000 points. Realism preferences are all on except for command and control. And looks good. So let's continue. Okay, so just going to do my usual. Hopefully this will go a little faster than it has in the past. I'm getting a little more used to this. Getting a little more used to 1,000 points, I should say. So I've no intention of changing the rifle company. That's the basis of my 1,000-point force at the moment. I'm going to keep using the 13mm, the anti-tank rifle instead of the Panzerminen, the tank mines. Okay, so yeah, let's buy one of those, and that's the first group. Now let's look at the map. So, because I'm going to get that anyway, no matter what. So, but the rest of it may depend on what the map looks like. Oh, and the one thing I want to check is that we are not having. Uh-oh, shit. Okay, well, neither. I'm not really very good with Victory X's that are. Oh, wait a minute. No, these are fine. Victory X is worth 20 at. Oh, worth 20 at the end of the battle. Okay, neither of us are going to be battling too hard over these. 20. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought for a moment they were points per turn because there was such a low number. It was such a low number, but it's actually worth 20 at the end of battle. Let's make sure that that is true for. They're all. I don't think the game generates different values for these. Looks. Trying to find the other one. There's one there, one there. Okay, I just make sure that they are. Oh, there's a little town in. That should prove interesting. Infantry should. Oh boy, urban. We're looking at probably an urban fight here, I think, because some of these Victory X's are right in the middle of the town. If I can find them. Well, actually, they are on the edge of the town. One thing that's really nice about the random maps is that they're not great. I mean, they're not perfect, but it actually does a pretty good job of generating random maps that are quite playable. I'd say 99% of the time they are quite playable, which is more than enough. And you get a nice variety. Because for somebody like me who's not very experienced, I think it's good to get a lot of different maps. Is there any other ones here? Can't tell. Yep, they're all 20. Let's check on this side. Yep, 20. So, 20 at the end of the battle. So, right off the bat, I know that it's not worthwhile fighting really. It's not worthwhile taking too many losses to either hold these or acquire them. To put it in perspective, 20 points is probably half the cost. Like that is the cost of an infantry scout team, for example. It's probably about maybe half the cost of a platoon. Um, so, uh, no, not a platoon, but like one squad, um, depending on what nation it is. So, yeah, but my opponent will still go on the attack. He's not. It does. It's not his style, as from what I've observed. So now I know that the Germans, even though I'm player one, I will actually be starting on the right-hand side of the map. Let's have a look what my starting position might be like. Let's see if I can find the center of the map. Should be around 49. Should be just, around about here. That's the center. Okay, so back from there, 12 hexes. So looks like I'll be starting on one side in the wooded area here, but what is the terrain like? Is it very rough? Height 20 has a lot of. It's very hilly in here. There's a lot of elevation changes in here. And there's a hill. There's a hill right in the center of that forest. Not sure that I would actually be. Okay, well that victory axes are over there. Where are they? Is this where the victory axes are? Right, and this one's right in the center. Looks like this one is also right in the center. So in any event, some of my units could be starting in the wooded area here, which is very handy. On this side, though, we're advancing out in the open, so that's not going to work too well. Now, disadvantages of moving up through these trees is that it's quite slow. The other thing is I don't know what the weather is because the game doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you what the random weather is. It might not be, maybe it's not even generated yet. Maybe it only generates it once the first turn starts. I don't know. Maybe it can't tell you. Maybe it can't tell you right now. But in any event, you don't know. So you could have very bad weather, in which case moving through trees would be a big problem, which is kind of annoying. I mean, it's the kind of thing you would know ahead of time, I think. But anyways, back to the map. Anyway, that's good for the infantry because they'll be able to move up as fast as possible. I will probably try to deploy the infantry company in this area, and try to have them move up as fast as possible. On this side, though, I don't know. I'm going to use the entire platoon. The entire company. I'm not going to keep a reserve. Mainly because I'm not really sure that my opponent does. At 1,000 points, you really don't have a large enough force that you have to have both sides keep a reserve in order for, because if one side doesn't, then the other side's basically fighting with one hand tied behind their back, so to speak. On this side is very open, but not too much. We have an orchard here. We have height 1 field, which is not. These don't provide much cover, but they do provide some concealment. However, there's a high ground over here. which I think my opponent will probably get to first. Now, as I said, these are not really going after too aggressively, but we want to get into the battle. That's really what it's all about. So holding back is not really all that useful. In the previous battle, I held one platoon back, and that really didn't work out too well. It allowed my opponent to move units a little bit too freely. So it resulted in my company coming under a lot more pressure than it would have been if I'd moved the other platoon up, and gave them gave the enemy some other targets to fire at. So I'm thinking another platoon for sure, but I don't know how I'm gonna support them. This map suggests tanks would be a good idea again, but I don't know. We'll see. That's where the hard part is. Is like what to get after the company. So there's still a few easy choices though. Scouts. This time I'm gonna go with 2-man scouts. Simply because they're cheaper. They're 21 points, but they really are not fighting units. They have no. The 4-man scout at least carries a Panzerwerfminen, which are basically thrown. I was reading up on them. It's one of those things in World War II. We had a lot of different experiments. Well, some of them were designed. Some of them came out of the 30s. How do infantry take care of tanks? And basically, the Panzerwerfminen is basically an anti-tank dart. It's got fins on it, and it's thrown. I mean, in theory, it makes sense because the fins intended to keep the device, when you throw it, keep the device pointed in the right direction so that the charge hits the tank square on. Great in theory, didn't actually work that well in practice because it's difficult to throw them very far. So, because the idea was that the infantry didn't have to get close, but it doesn't work that well. Now in the game, it actually works very well if you surprise the tank. Like they walk into a 4-man scout unit, a German 4-man scout unit. Like an armored car is not gonna do too well. Regular tanks, they have a little better chance of survival. Well, actually, much better chance of survival due to the heavier armor, because that's the problem. And the chance of getting a good hit are much lower. So my usual is 3 scout units, but we're gonna go with 2-man scouts now because they're very weak. I really gotta make sure I keep them close to the platoons. Each scout platoon will be associated with a rifle platoon from the company. So then after that, I'm gonna go with a heavy MG just to provide support. Although on this map, if I'm looking at it, I don't know where I deploy them that they'd have a good line of sight, right? Because certainly up in here, it's going to be difficult for them to be useful. I'm trying to see if it's really hard. Learning to read these maps is quite an art, I think. For elevation changes. Now, there are tools to actually print out contour maps for Steel Panther's World at War maps, but unfortunately, random maps in password protected play by emails are not readable by that program, so that's not even an option. It's kind of annoying, actually. The problem is the way the game is very simple in its design is that the units in the map are an integral thing. You can't actually separate them. So being able to read the map would automatically allow you to read the units. So in a password protected situation, that kind of defeats the protection. So for whatever it's worth, I mean, I don't really see the protection as being that good anyway. We have line of sight there, maybe one there, but it's not going to be very good. So the heavy MGs are probably not going to be very effective on this side. Maybe more on this side. So probably still should need to take them. May actually want to take light MGs instead over here. Maybe, but anyway, I'm going to take those anyway because I think they could be used on the other side of the map no matter what. Okay, so then we on to artillery. I'm not going to take a sniper as a standard part of the force, simply because by this point, they're already getting pretty expensive. They're up to 20 points. If you go 6 months earlier in the war, in September 1939, it's only worth 15. That's how much difference in experience you're getting. So that's 5 points. I mean, that's a lot. And on this map, I'm not really convinced that it's gonna help. Not really convinced that it's gonna be useful. Actually, well, on this side it might be. On this side it might be. Anyway, we're still messing about. I'm not gonna make any final decisions yet. So actually, why don't I put a sniper in just to see what that's gonna look like in terms of cost? Yeah. Okay. We'll put him in, and we'll go to the artillery. Because I have a feeling I'm gonna be short on points here. And we're gonna go to two mortar sections, 81 millimeter mortar sections, because I really missed having the extra tubes in the previous battle. I had to hold back. I think I held back too much. Now we have a limit of 10% for artillery, excluding stuff that's attached. So I'm actually getting a good deal here. This is one of the reasons why the German rifle company is a good buy, because you're getting these light mortars that is not included in your 10% limit. However, it's not really helping me here because the cost of the medium mortars is putting me close enough to the limit. That's 84 points. Close enough to the limit that there's not enough left to buy any other kind of artillery anyway. So, I mean, the only option would be is to skip those and actually try finding something else, which we can look at. I mean, why not? So we probably would look at field gun. Yeah, field gun. And guess what? It's the same price. I mean, that's for 75 millimeter. If you go to 105, we're now looking at 74 points. So, yeah, I mean, you're way over. It's way over. Because I mean, we're looking at 42 points plus 74 points for the artillery, and it's way over already. So and a 75 millimeter howitzer is probably not. It's different. Its effectiveness is different because you get a lot more scatter in the shots than you do with a mortar. The mortars tend to be more targeted. But I mean, the cost is exactly the same, so you might as well go with the 81 millimeter mortars. I mean, that's basically how it comes down to looking at the cost and saying, well, no, it's not worth it. Now, actually, I think the off-board stuff is priced a little differently. Like 75 millimeter, I could go with it for an off-board, which puts me a little closer. And in fact, I think that makes it exactly 100 points. But again, that's 75 millimeter, and you're only getting one tube. Actually, no, sorry, you're getting 4 tubes, so you're getting a lot more for that price. Um, Again, and it's different. You're not going to get all of that ammo. You get so I mean, you're getting a lot more punch as far as I'm concerned. Hmm, hmm. It's tempting just to try something different. Hmm. I gotta make sure though um, I'm not going too much over. Yeah, that gives me exactly 100 points. Now the problem is, of course, you're getting 4 tubes, but you can't direct these separately. I mean, you have to fire them all at one target, right? So with the mortars, so with the mortars, you get to control each tube. So you're getting a lot more impact because I mean that's 4 tubes landing. However, there's a lot of scatter in these shots, so um, the effectiveness is somewhat lower because it's 75 millimeters, so you're not getting a lot of splash damage. Um, if you're on a very open map, um, it might be a good idea. I'm tempted to go down that road just to see how it works out. Um, Let's back to the map. Um, and that's quite a large. We haven't set any rules about. It's never come up whether to go with offboard. The cost is right. Um, the cost is about right. I mean, the cost is exact. 'Cause that's exactly 100 points. Um, it's no, that was off board. So that's exactly 100, the 2 mortar tubes and the 75 millimeters, exactly 100 points. The thing of it is, though, that might leave me short elsewhere, which is the problem, I think. So I'm not gonna do that. You run out of points fairly quickly, and I was playing with these. Oops. Nope. I was trying stuff out, just seeing what sort of combinations I could look at, and it's really at 1,000 points the flexibility isn't very high, I think, for the Germans. Because the thing of it is, yeah, like this is now 84 points, and that's pretty effective. I found. I mean, obviously the 75 millimeter battery would be yeah, four times as many shells landing in each salvo. Um, but you're gonna have that 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 benefit is gonna cost you somewhere else because you're gonna be short on you're gonna be short units somewhere else, right? So it's all a trade-off. And now we need a forward observer, which I'm not sure my opponent takes a forward observer, but I found them to be they they bring in artillery. I mean, he's bringing in artillery fast enough, so I'm guessing he does have one. Um, because if you don't have a forward observer, the chances are your artillery is going to take more than a turn to land after you call it in. With a forward observer, what I've seen is that it takes usually, but after the enemy player's turn, your artillery hits them. So that's a pretty good delay. And um, if you target the same hex, then it may land before his turn, which is very very helpful. We wouldn't get that without a forward observer. So I think it's worth the points. They're quite expensive. So um, 21 points. I mean, that's a lot of points at 1,000-point level. So, but I think it's worth it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna take any trucks. I didn't need it in the last battle. I tried it as an experiment, and it worked out fine. So, back to the map. Well, no, I don't. I don't think I need to go to the map. Well, I do. If I start an infantry unit here, they actually get to start in the trees, but they wouldn't be able to move very far. Well, at least, well, I guess they could. It really depends on where the deployment area is. If the deployment area is, what did I say, 49? So it'd be about 6. So 69 is 20. No, it's back. So deployment area would be this close, or was it further back? Yeah, I think the deployment line will be around here. The start line will be around here. So I may even be able to start behind this. Anyway, I'm not going to mess with it too much, because I think I'm probably going to have to undo some of these things anyway. Back to infantry. We want a rifle platoon. They're going to need some recon. I'm going to go with 2-man. And we're down to our 16. Okay, so now why is that? Probably because of the sniper, I think. Probably because of the sniper. Well, now they need machine gun support, so I put an LMG in there, but I don't know if that's LMG section. This is looking a bit odd. Okay, so we're down to 98 points, I think. Something I've done differently here. Something is a little different. Now, back to the map. Do I go with tanks again, or do I just rough it and try an infantry only thing? My feeling is that it actually won't work. So I mean, a rifle platoon is another 85 points. And now we're down to 13 points, and we don't even have enough to give them a. Yeah, I'm missing something. Something's off. I think it's the sniper. I think it's the sniper that's throwing things off here. Unless I've purchased something somewhere. Yeah, let's back up. I think I've mispurchased. I'll try it without the sniper and see if. But I'll make sure these are actually 2-man rather than Actually, I'm gonna start it over because whoops. So I might have mispurchased something, or when I was doing it in my testing, I might have mispurchased the rifle company, which would be stupid, but not unusual. So we're gonna go with the Panzer. Okay, that's that. And then the scouts. Two-man. Okay, and then we have no sniper. MG section. Now we'll leave out we'll leave out the sniper. I think it's not feasible with the two mortar sections. Oh no, we need the forward observer. Okay, so we're now at 242 points. Okay, so back to infantry. We're gonna add a second. We're gonna add a rifle platoon. We're going to add scouts for them. They'll infantry. It's always helpful to have some scouts around. And we're going to give them additional LMG support, which could be swapped around with that one, because I mean, it might be better to have the LMGs move up with the group that's moving up through the trees, and have this one out in a position where it can have a better field of fire. But anyway, so 518. Yeah, that's makes more sense. Yeah, the sniper is not going to be feasible at this with. I'd have to give up something else. And the effectiveness of a sniper is more useful as a recon unit than as an actual shooter. So yeah, okay. So now that leaves me with the decision whether to go with another rifle platoon, which now looks a little bit more feasible. And do we give them as scouts, or do we give them? Yeah, we give them scouts. That's one possibility. Why is it I can never find the things? Yeah, these are 12 points. So how would I use those? I mean, that's the thing. So companies deploying in year, for better or for worse, they're going to move up through the trees. Actually, I mean, they will probably deploy in a fairly broad front, considering what the available concealment in these trees are. So each three of the companies, the entire company will be in the front. Like all three platoons will be deployed to the front rather than one to the back, like I did last time. So basically, one of them will be in the center while the other two are moving up, I guess, or something like that, depending on what goes on. The problem is it's really hard to tell how far back. I mean, the other thing is the start lines are not set from the center. They set around where the victory X's are, and this one is slightly. This victory X's are there. I mean, because that sets the I don't know how exactly it does it, but if the victory X's are offset slightly, well, in this case it looks like they're actually pretty close to the center of the map. At least these ones are. Yeah. These ones are actually in the center of the map. These ones are. Find them. Yeah, they're pretty close to the center of the map as well. These ones are slightly offset to this side. So we can assume that it'll be shifted slightly this way. So I'm going to be probably quite close to this area. You may not be on that position right away. Yeah, here's the problem. I mean, this group is not capable. It doesn't really have much anti-tank capability. In fact, they have nothing. They only have the Panzerjägers. That's it. I mean, some of the heavy infantry are equipped with tank mines, but that requires getting really close. It's feasible. It just takes a lot more skill to do that. Using tanks also requires skill, though. Tanks are a lot easier to be destroyed depending on what you're. I got lucky the last battle because he moved in really a bit too fast, and that gave me a chance of getting the upper hand. But it didn't last that long. But it lasted long enough that I could, outmaneuver his tanks. But he still had more. I mean, he had two more light tanks that were not as bad a threat, but still they can still damage mine or even destroy them if they get a side shot. So you really couldn't just go out and take them on without carefully being able to get into position to do that. And like I said, got lucky. Can't count on that again. But I don't see how to avoid it. I mean, what the last battle showed me was that I can't avoid taking the tanks. It's just this doesn't seem feasible to not take armor. The question more becomes of what it will be. I think in terms of cost. I mean, this is what I had last time. That's 34 points. And it worked fairly well. This map's not. I'm thinking this map is not. The tanks are not going to be. They don't have as free reign, but they didn't. I mean, there's a limited area where they can operate in. There's plenty of areas where they can hide. Is there any height 1 area? There's height 1 area here. So actually, I mean, infantry could even start back here. Yeah, the main problem is I won't have enough units to cover the side. That's what I'm more worried about. Because I think the company would be able to cover everything from there to the road probably. One platoon will probably be able to cover this side, but then they can easily be surrounded or bypassed. it's so tough. I just don't know. Okay, so if I go now, I mean the tanks will need some scouts around them. So this is actually a good combo because for the tanks because they can only carry the 35T and the 38T can only carry um, uh, 3 men, so 6 men each. I mean, so um, this is probably if they get 4 each, then so because that's a total of 10. So we put 6 on one and 4 on the other. Let's just do that, and that leaves me with 7 points. I just don't know. I mean, my deployment was very bad in the last one because I ended up with the tanks not being really covered by infantry. I'm guessing the tanks would start in this area this time, while an infantry unit moves up here. There's a lot of ground to cover here. That is the thing. So 1 platoon there, 1 there, 1 there, move, and they will move towards that orchard area, if possible. I need this area is scary for me because it's an urban area and there's not much experience in that type of fighting, so it's a very different type of fighting, close range. A lot of casualties are going to result there. So I'm actually thinking of just holding position here. Actually, don't in this battle do not need to push to get victory X's. They aren't really going to change the results that much. It's going to really be more dependent on inflicting casualties. So we want to get into a position to do that more than actually take victory X's and prevent him from pushing through, which he's been able to do successfully on more than one occasion with fast units. Now the French have cavalry units, so guess what? He's probably going to have those. Just because he knows it's worked against me in the past. So yeah. I don't know. Is that what I want to go with? I have 7 points left. There's really not much you can do with 7 more points. The alternative is the alternative is the rifle platoon, as I've tried, and that results in 33 points left over. Now, if I group those two together and then don't buy extra scouts for them, then I might be able to get additional anti-tank, but not the anti-tank rifles. I get 2 of them because each one is the way it works is if you don't have enough points, it'll remove the. So that's 32 points, I think. Or does it take a third of that? Let's see. We left 9 points. Is that right? No, that's not right. Why did I leave 9 points? 36. Ah, okay. It's actually taking. Each one's actually 12 points, even though the actual cost of it if losing it in battle will be 16. The actual cost of buying them is 12 points. So So that's 24 points, and that's where you're losing that one, which is only worth 9 points, which would cost you. You would need another 3 points, right? Um, hmm. Back to the map again. This is because that's really what it is whether I can push two infantry platoons up here, how far they can get. I mean, they'll be out in the open. And that's not. I mean, that's basically what the last battle was. However, there's not a lot of. The chances are of him not having tanks are like zero, right? So I just can't see how I can rely on infantry, anti-tank rifles. If this was a more closed area, then it would make more sense, I think. Yeah, I can't justify not taking armor when we've got enough of an open area here for them to operate in. If this was all trees in the area where most of the fighting will occur, then I think I could justify not taking the tanks, because it'd be a lot easier to get infantry closer to whatever armor that might come up. But out in the open, it doesn't seem like that's feasible. So I'm actually going to not do that. Does mean I'm not maxing out the amount of points I'm spending. Alternatively, there's always options. I mean, this is the problem. There are too many options, right? If we go with the 35T, which is not as good. Actually, it has better armor in some. Like it actually has better rear armor. But other than that, it's basically the same tank. The 37mm gun is a little better, which I think is probably what my advantage was in the previous battle. I mean, I got kills in very. They were relatively easy. Now, when I was looking at the French side, they actually have fairly good tanks. I mean, just based on the pricing of them. Now, that's not necessarily meaning they're great tanks, but they're probably better than average. However, they're quite expensive. Most of the French tanks are well, because you can only buy them in very large formations, so they get quite costly. Interesting to see how he manages that. I don't know. Yeah, let's go with that. We'll make it work, right? I mean, that's certainly what it comes down to. And I need to get used to using tanks. I mean, I think there's just no way to avoid it. Scout platoon. There we go. We'll go with that one. Okay. Now those scouts are only there if the tanks are parked someplace, and I need to have some. You need to have some scouts close to them just to keep a lookout, because otherwise the infantry could sneak up on them. I mean, as long as they are operating with close to infantry, and I think I should try and keep them close to this group. But maybe we'll see how it works out. And yeah, okay, so I don't know. I still don't know. Still doubting. This is the thing. I just don't have enough experience to say, yeah, this is what'll work. And also, one thing is annoying. Wish deployment and purchase was tied together a bit more, because then you could, like, try things out, which actually probably would be a bad thing for me because I'd be experimenting too much. But you could actually try out various deployments to see how it will work. But I mean, the tanks have enough room to operate. There's no problem with that. It's more the problem of how outnumbered I'll be again, and that's a fairly large problem. Well, we got 7 points left. There's nothing else I can buy with that, so I'm gonna go with that. So the final result that my choices will be it's basically the same, almost the same as the last battle. Difference is, well, so I'm going with my usual infantry rifle company. I mean, I think that's worked very well for me. I'm going with 2-man scouts, 1 platoon per platoon in the company. Then we're adding 2 heavy machine guns, and I'm going with 4 mortar tubes in 2 sections. Observer team. Main difference is at this point I took a sniper in the last battle. I think the mortars would be more useful. And then, as the same as last battle, I had an extra rifle platoon, some 2-man scouts to support them, light machine gun to support that platoon, LMG section to support the platoon, because they might be moving around a lot bit more, and also there's a cost issue. The Lafayette troop is quite expensive. It's like 32 points versus 18 points. So yeah, it's not a no-brainer. And then this is my difficult decision. I'm going to go with the 38T again, and this time with a 2-man with a 2-man leader and 4-man. It's a combination of a 2-man leader squad and 4-man scout team. That should work. I mean, they can fit on there. So the alternative is to go with the 2-man team. That would leave, I think, a difference of, because we have, I mean, there are always points to play with, right? That's a difference of 9 points. Actually, no, it's not, because that's not what I bought. Let's see. I think you have to go in someplace else to get. It's really weird because you can't always guarantee that you get that combination. It only shows up under very peculiar circumstances, I've found, and I'm not quite sure what it is yet. So I just click around. Sometimes it comes back, and there it is. So that's 27. So well, that would have been 3 points. It's a difference of 3 points. So I would actually have 10 points. This is still nothing you can spend that on. Just looking at. Oh, maybe there is. It might actually be worthwhile doing that. And just maybe there's some. Oh, let's see, scout cars. Nope, they're 18 points. So, I mean, you could take 1 scout car. Actually, I could take 1 scout car. It's got a machine gun on it, and it costs 6 points. You can carry 2 men. Well, that's not really terribly useful. Anything else in here that's cheap and useful? I mean, you can get a lot of cheap stuff, but it's may not be what you want in a 1,000-point battle. really there's no in a 1,000 point battle. There's not much room for buying units that are not going to be useful to you. I mean, the platoon is actually the more useful one because you're getting a lot of vehicles, but doesn't look like it actually works out unless you took cheaper tanks. Is one scout car with it? I mean, that's really the question. I'm guessing it would operate with the tanks in possibly. I mean, you can carry the two-man leader of the scout team, of the scout platoon. Um, is there any point to taking that? It's just well, I mean, it's the only thing that's probably affordable. Trucks are not useful. They're not going to carrying anything off tracks. Are actually would be very useful, but they're quite expensive because they're armored vehicles, right? So that's why they cost so much. I think not really convinced that it's worth 21 points, but what do I know? Um, hmm. Hmm. I don't know. Um, oh, and I'll say I very let's see, scout. Anything else that might no? These are quite expensive. Um, yeah, 66 points. Yeah, I'm ready to get out of 1,000 points and move up, but I do want to make sure I've spent enough time in it. At 800 points, I think I moved up a little too fast. I should have spent more time at 800 points and gotten used to trying to work within the limits of that, because actually that's quite an interesting challenge, as working within the limits of the points. Because even at I mean how many points you've got, it's never going to seem like it's enough. So you might as well start trying to learn how to budget and buy useful units at whatever point value you're currently working with. I don't know. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Um, there's a gun team. Oh, these are the ones that tow the guns, move them around. Um, yeah, well, that's pretty much all I could do. Is a Volkswagen MG. It's actually not a bad. It's got a machine gun, and it's a pretty effective machine gun, because it has fire control, um, which actually makes it more accurate than the LMGs here. That is one criticism has been raised, is that the LMGs are supposed to have fire control of 1, which gives them a much better chance of hitting. Well, but one of the reasons I buy these is because they have fire control much higher than 1. I think they got fire control of 2, maybe even 3. I mean, because they tripod mounted and they have a good sight on them. Um, so they actually very effective if used properly, which I can't say that I do. Yeah, let's do that. What the hell? I mean, it's not gonna. It's just extra points to give the opponent, right? Yeah, let's buy a scout car. Why not? I mean, I've in the Germany versus Norway battle, that was actually quite fun at the end of the, because it means cavalry broke through, and my cool wagons were spent a few turns firing at the cavalry from quite a long range, which annoyed him quite a bit. So that was entertaining. But I doubt one will be very effective. I mean, the advantage of it is there's another machine gun, right? Um, and a very good one too. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I think so. 1 point left. I think that's about as as good as I can do. Increasing the motors is a good thing for me. The rest of this I don't know. I really don't have any good idea of whether this is a good idea and a useful idea or not. But what can you do? Okay, so that's gonna be it. Set my password. And we put this in slot 4. Let's call this okay. Okay, the files have been saved, and we're done. Okay, so that's hopefully